this general sense of the wheels coming off, this general sense of the Tories sort of casting around for something that they can shout about, that they can boost, that they can make their message, whether it's shoes, whether it's posters. They just don't know where to go.
What do you make of this finding then? Economic improvement won't help the Tories, certainly with half of voters. Is that going to be a blow to the thinking and the morale in Downing Street?
I mean, I think morale's probably already quite low, if we're being honest, given where the polls are. And therefore, the question, I think, is more, will an improved economy boost the Tories from where they are, as opposed to will it win Rishi Sunak the election somehow? I think most figures in the Tory party, including some close to Rishi Sunak, believe an election victory is now probably out of their grasp. And what this poll suggests is that it's not going to be a game changer in a substantial way, but it probably could, in terms of, it could improve the Tories party's fortune from where they are currently. It's just by how much can it do that? And I think, as one cabinet minister said to me quite recently, the question is almost, what happens more quickly? Is it the case that the economy improves at a fast rate? Or is it the case that the Tory party falls apart at a faster rate? And that's really the calculation most ministers are thinking about at the moment.
Yeah, well, I guess the question, how much hope is contained in a poll like this, if any? I mean, clearly economic feel good, feeling as if you're better off, is going to be more important to most people than a statistical uptick or downtick in the rate of inflation, or up in the case of interest rates by a quarter point or two. But people at the moment, Katie, they're not crediting the government with any improvement that might come along. They just keep on as they were. They seem to have made up their minds.
Yeah, I think that's the risk. It's effectively that the economy will probably improve if the Tories can get to autumn for an election. Will Rishi Sunak get any credit? Right now, when he talks about inflation coming down, you listen to focus groups and it seems to be irritating people because they feel it's almost had this Panglossian view that doesn't reflect how they feel. And then, of course, there's also the point that if the economy is improving, does that mean that voters are more willing to take a chance on Labour? Because they think, less scary times, now is the time for a Labour government. So I don't think it is, the silver bullet for the Conservatives' problems right now.
Yeah,
but I think at the same time, you could argue that if you were the government, would you rather go when people feel a little better off, or would you rather go right now? And that is how you end up at an autumn election, even if it is not going to be, the solution in of itself to their strategy.
Yeah, under all this pressure, Katie, can you see Rishi Sunak attacking to the right in some way, maybe talking tougher on the European Convention on Human Rights? I mean, there's a problem, isn't there? You move to the right, you start antagonising the Tory centre.
Yeah, it is a problem. And I think that you have, of course, the ECHR could well be in the Tory manifesto, whether it is leaving the ECHR, whether it is a referendum on the ECHR, whether it's a review on the ECHR. I think that you can see Number 10 wanting to hint that it's a possibility. I think some of that is party management with the right of the party ahead of the local elections. And what will really decide it is whether or not Rishi Sunak can get flights to Rwanda between now and polling day, whenever it is.
Well, would the Conservative centre, would the centre tolerate it being in the manifesto, even as a promise of a referendum?
So I think it's incredibly divisive for the Tory party. I think, for example, the Attorney General, Victoria Prentice, you can't imagine her being particularly relaxed about leaving the ECHR, a One Nation Tory. I think the only way they might be able to sell it is if they cannot have any progress on Rwanda otherwise, and then that would be the way through. But I think probably the hope in Number 10, as far as I understand, is almost getting those flights so you avoid having to do what would be a very divisive policy for the Tory party.
Can you discuss the Prime Minister's footwear? Tell me more.
Yes, I do. It's not really about the shoes. It begins with the shoes. There are several paragraphs about the shoes. I'm not going to lie. But the point is, Rishi Sunak, he wore a trendy pair of trainers. He was widely ridiculed for it. What this said to me is the poor man has now reached the stage where he can't even wear shoes. Everything goes wrong. Even his shoes goes wrong. And as I say in the column, sort of small picture shoes, big picture, everything. Everything he does sort of falls apart. He was reported last week to have taken to asking people in Downing Street, "Am I not very good at this?" And the answer to that question is no. But as I say in the column, it's also the wrong question because he simply couldn't be doing any better.
Yeah.
It's not about him. It's not about the shoes. It's about the situation he finds himself in. anyone else wearing the same shoes would be doing just as badly.
So the shoes are useful as an illustration of the Prime Minister's
Yes, the
situation.
shoes are a vehicle.
We
The shoes
should
get us from A to B.
again, well, and well, hopefully him too, but not very far apparently on this argument. So we better explain. These are Adidas shoes, aren't they? And what are they called again? But they cost about 90 quid, which in the shoe world, the trainer world, is not a huge fortune.
It's a humble shoe, apparently. I mean, not as humble as the shoes I'm wearing now. More of a Converse man myself, not going to lie. But nonetheless, there are. I mean, Rishi Sunak has been pictured in the past wearing £335 sneakers and £450 Prada loafers.
Yes.
So when he puts on a £90 shoe for an Instagram video, this is a man doing it on purpose. This is a man with a shoe strategy. And his shoe strategy has failed, like all his other strategies. But this is inevitable because of simply the circumstances he's dealing with.
Yes, I mean there are, I am no expert, but I know there are trainers that cost literally thousands of pounds, even tens of thousands of pounds. Imagine if he turned up in one of those for a picture. That wouldn't have gone down terribly. He had too much sense for that. But as you say, he can't win. And you make the point about a poster, which made headlines over the weekend, to kind of further illustrate your argument. Tell me about that.
Yes, well, I mean, the poster, like sort of yet another seemingly trivial thing that's gone wrong recently. They put out this poster at the weekend that boasted Britain is the second most powerful country in the world, and showed Rishi Sunak next to the English team, which is of course not the British team, and the English football team shortly before they lost the match that they were pictured for anyway, and alongside a fighter jet we largely buy from America, the F-35. And a container ship, which turned out to be Swiss/South Korean. Why he was next to a container ship, I'm not sure. I don't think we have particular British pride in our container ships, but it just sort of shows this general sense of the wheels coming off, this general sense of the Tories sort of casting around for something that they can shout about, that they can boost, that they can make their message. Whether it's shoes, whether it's posters, they just don't know where to go.
Right. I mean, so basically, your argument here, very elegantly expressed and illustrated, is the Prime Minister's condition is pretty much hopeless. So, I mean, given that, have you, in your argument, any kind of consolation or hope? How do you give hope to a literally hopeless man?
I mean, the only hope he can have is that nobody else would be doing better. Look, I mean, I discussed in the article where it gets a bit more serious. There was a YouGov poll in the Times, I think it's today, that said 47% of people would vote Labour at the next election, even if the economy recovers before then. Right? So the Tories they're basing a lot of hope on a recovered economy. Even if that happens, it's not going to help them. Nothing will help them. No change of leaders will help them. Nothing will. It's not about the shoes.
Okay, I wouldn't even call it cold comfort, because there's no comfort in this whatsoever, except maybe to put on his Adidas trainers and go for a jog and try and make peace with the world. Anyway, good to get your thoughts, as always, Hugo, expressed as you uniquely do. Hugo Rifkind, there's columns in the digital copy of the paper, and you can pick it up somewhere and read it